Well, here we are again in the Radio Entrepreneurs streaming studios. And whatever goes on in the world, we continue to stream stories of leadership and entrepreneurship and how people are running and successfully, we hope, their businesses in this economy. We only have successful leaders on Radio Entrepreneurs. So it must be a refreshing change for some people. And again, we like to check in all the time with Sheriff Sharkey. That is from Phil Sharkey, president and owner of the Hire Authority. Welcome back, Phil.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me again today. It's always a pleasure, as you know. And today I have something that's very dear to me as a big part of the business is I want to talk to you about resumes and the fact that we just read a survey here that over 55% of the people admit to lying on their resume. So I want to go over with you what the lies are.
I bet you it's higher than that.
It is. And again, the key is that these people are admit to lying on their resume. So I'm sure the actual number is way higher than that. And something that stands out to me, Jeff, I think you might find interesting. This is just from this year. They said the number of Google searches about how to fake a resume is up 48% this year. And also the amount of people learning how to fake a job reference on Google is up 52%. So more and more people are Googling how to fake a resume, which I find interesting as well. Let me get right into, Jeff, where you might be interested, what the eight lies on a resume are. It's going to be
and I've got a ninth.
Yeah, oh, you got a ninth, right? I'll go right through quickly. So we got 55% of people. This was a survey from Standout CV. 55.4% lied about their previous work experience. We see that all the time. 43% lied about their skills. 41% lied about college degrees or equivalent. That's a for sure. This is an interesting one. 39% lied about personal details such as their age, location, or their actual name. We get a lot of that. A lot of people, the name that you know them under, try to hire them is not their real name. 39% lied about high school details. 33% about their salary information. Number 7 is 33% is the job-specific software or equivalent skills. And the last, number 8, is employer references, 21% falsified people. So they gave you someone to talk to who usually is a friend or a pal and has nothing at all regarding their work experience. Now, you said you had a ninth. What do you think is another resume fake claim? that
lying what I was doing in the live theater show.
I understand. Now, I have one more stats I want to throw at you. I'm a big stat guy.
I was actually watching this show.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's important. So here's what I have for you is I found interesting that most of the high earners or IT workers are more likely to lie on their resume than other people. So this was a survey from résumés.com. It discovered that workers earning 6 figures or higher tend to lie more on their resume compared to people who make less than that figure. Because I get a lot of clients and they'll tell me, well, this is a big wig and they don't want to do a background. But the stats say otherwise, that the big wigs, they often get passed on from company to company. People are drooling just to get that person.
I see that all the time. I see people who are career, they move up, they move lateral into powerful positions, right. And each one tells a new story about their last experiences.
Exactly. And I think there's an intimidation factor where you don't want to ruffle any feathers. You really want the person to come on board with you, and you don't want to cause any issues. So you drop the ball and you don't do your background check. But boy, those are the cases where your branding can really become harmed when it comes out that they don't have the qualifications that you thought or the degree that they claimed. I find that very interesting. They also stated that employers working IT, 55%, or finance, 45%, were also more likely to lie on the resume compared to any other field. So when I think of our viewership out there, if you're in IT or finance, which we have a lot of clients in those fields, those are the 2 highest fields where people seem to embellish their resume and lie. And again, Jeff, I get to the point where we're not Big Brother. I'm not coming down on a person, but there's a big difference between sort of making yourself look as possibly good as you can to flat out lying.
It's funny. I was looking at LinkedIn on the weekend for someone. I'll cheat this as benign as possible so I don't get in trouble. Sure. But someone I knew very, very, very well over their whole career. And I looked up their current job, and I was shocked. And then I looked through their resume, and I could see all the incorrect
claims.
job experiences throughout their resume. I wrote my partner, Jonathan, to take a look at it. And his skepticism when he got back to me. But here's a guy who got a job in a big company and built it on a platform of jet puff marshmallows.
It's so true. And when I get into this argument a lot with people, when do we just become accepting? And I understand, again, not being big brother, but the fact that people are not held accountable or who they are. It's the George Santos effect. It's like, if you just lied to get to a point, what's the difference? In fact, this article pointed out that 80% of the people that lied on the resume did indeed get the job, but that 50% of those people within 1 month were either terminated, left the job, or suffered a great mishap at that job. So I tell the people out there that do lie, even if you get in, what's the sense if it's going to come back to bite you anyways? When do we become a society that just accepts it?
But how many people does it really come back to bite? I would say it's a small percentage, because once you get in the door, it's not what you did yesterday that you're going to get evaluated on. It's what you're going to do tomorrow.
Right.
And tomorrow, if you do a bad job, and the tomorrow after that, and the tomorrow after that, then employers go back and start checking. They don't check.
And that's sort of my point. If you don't have those skills to be in there in the first place, unless a miracle happens and you all of a sudden acquire them, you're going to be in over your head, and it's going to come back, and they're going to start checking, or bring a company like myself on board and say, guess what? That IT degree doesn't have it. So now what do you do? Now there's a big problem. And we see that all the time in my business. So many times we get a client, Jeff, after the fact. I wish they would bring us on before. Pre-employment screening is such a key term. I just had one last month where it was an office manager that was stealing from the person. He said, now I'm going to screen that position. But he was already a year into having someone steal from them. It's such important.
And we know through you that the majority of people who are cheating their employers tend to be in financial positions. That's the position they're in. I mean, if you're a salesperson, what are you going to take? A sample?
Right. Exactly. The harm is the risk harm is much greater of an impact. And I'll leave you with, I know I like to leave you with an example of someone important here. So we have in November 2019, Jeff, this was an NBC News investigation. They found that Mina Chang, she was the Deputy Assistant Secretary in the State Department Bureau of Conflict and Stability Operation, big business card. She embellished her resume and made misleading claims. That's fine. But she also included creating a fake Time magazine article with her face on the cover. Fake. Again, a company like mine or anyone could find this out from a Google search. I just wonder about the workings within the mind to go that far, where it's like, again, a George Santos type of decision where, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, I'll tell you, one of my friends was traveling. He's a financial guy, and he did one of those photos on the cover of Ford's magazine.
Nice.
#1 financial planner in the United States. And I said to him when he sent it to me, and he sent it to me as a joke, I said, watch this. I'm going to send it to, I don't want to have any names because I want to stay married. I said, I'm going to send it to you know who, and watch how impressed she is. And I sent it to her, and she was like, oh, wow. And because, and people just don't think, because, my wife is always so trusting and good natured.
Right.
Well, perfect example. She trusts me. So no, I'm just joking. No, it's amazing what people, if you tell people things, what they'll believe. And I try to show that to leaders all the time. Be careful what you say. People believe things. And so be careful, and they'll remember what you said.
You have to protect yourself as an employer. I mentioned in our last segment with Jonathan that we had stats that 30% of company bankruptcies were due to employee theft. I thought I thought it was bad marketing, product, the economy. 30%, 1/3 of company bankruptcies, closures was due to employee theft. So if you don't see the onus to make sure that people are honest and do your due diligence, you got a 30% chance of going under.
That's an amazing statistic, Phil. Was that my tongue twister for the day, or do you have something else before we close?
That was your big stat of the day for background screening, where I tried to show the importance of it. Even in this hard environment, I know people can't find anyone, but you're rolling the dice big time, Jeff. If you don't, at least do your due diligence and make sure they are who they say they are when they walk through your doors. Again, not being big brother, not coming down on anybody, just asking people to be honest and have the qualifications that they claim about themselves.
You mean that when we hired our producer Jillian, that her resume said that she was in charge of the news department at NBC? That's not true.
Now, I know Jillian, and I know she would never make such a claim, and there is no one better at the job than that person, that's for sure.
Well, Phil, if somebody else is looking for you, sorry, Jillian, for that comment. If someone else is looking for you, how would they find you?
Right on the internet, hireauth.com, short for higher authority. You can Google us. You can call the number. We have actually people here compared to these large screening firms that are impersonal. We have a staff that answers the phone at 508-230-5901, or you can email me directly at psharkey@hireauth.com. That's hireauth, HIREAUTH.
Well, Phil, you make the life of the employer and entrepreneur a lot easier, and I encourage everybody to get to know you. I want to thank you for being on the show. We look forward to seeing you next week again on Radio Entrepreneurs.